You remember Freddie Gray, the brother that died at the hands of the Baltimore Police Department, and they had a state's attorney at the time, and she's still actually a state attorney, Marilyn Mosby. And she went to charge the police officers. Well, we know the fiasco, what happened out of that. We paid attention to the tactics of the cops in this particular case with Freddie Gray. They did trial by judge because they knew the jury would convict them. So they knew they had a judge that was pro-police and against any kind of justice for black people. And I saw how the way that man just acted in that courtroom with Marilyn Mosby. And he kept knocking down all the cases that was against those cops, and they was trying to get her out of there. But she still is there as of now. But she has not backed down, even though she has suffered a lot with that. Now, there's a scandal they had with the gun trace task force. You had 8 cops convicted with that scandal. Now, there's 25 police officers that's being discredited by Marilyn Mosby, and there's 790 convictions that she's trying to get erased right now. And we know the majority of those convictions is going to be black men. See, they don't like to hear things like this, that you're trying to unravel the system that oppresses black people, but especially black men. They don't like to hear that. This is why when I initially heard about this, I said, you know what? Family in Baltimore, you need to keep your eyes out for Marilyn Mosby. You guys may need to protect her, because if she's not trying to fight for you in any kind of way, shape, or form, she sure wouldn't be doing this. She'd be doing like Tammy Kemp, hugging cops, that sort of thing, giving them Bibles. You understand? So the situation with Marilyn Mosby and how this even happened is that she had pushed for a new state law, because when she was trying to get convictions wiped out, judges kept denying it, saying there was no legal precedent for that to happen. She got with another Democrat by the name of Eric Barron. He's a Prince George County Democrat, and he was a former prosecutor to back a state bill that granted her the authority to vacate old convictions. Mosby had told state lawmakers at the time that this legal hurdle hindered efforts to right the wrongs of the gun trace task force. Now, the gun trace task force case was a federal case, and a lot of cops had got caught up in that. At least 7 unnamed officers are connected to dismissed cases. It said Mosby declined to identify them as of yet because they're still under federal investigation. She directed questions to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Baltimore, but a spokeswoman declined to comment at the time. So at least 10 officers cited that they have been resigned. One retired, another was fired. Another officer, Detective Sean Suter, was shot to death nearly 2 years ago in West Baltimore. That's interesting. Most of these men have not been charged with a crime, but nearly all were named in testimony during the federal gun trace task force trial. Mosby said her office has no choice. The integrity of their cases is compromised. See, so you had 25 cops, had got 790 convictions. That's a small amount of them waging terrorism in the middle of the streets. You understand? There's so many crooked cops that's part of these police departments. It's like they go hire the worst of the worst. And anytime that you have a police officer, it don't matter the color or whatever, and he or she come into the police departments and they want to do things that's right, they want to actually follow the laws and even check the other cops that's doing wrong, that particular cop is attacked. I've interviewed 2 police officers on our platform. You have a New York Police Department officer by the name of Pedro Serrano they interviewed here, and you had a Fort Worth Police Department officer by the name of Vance Keys. They both interviewed here, and they said the exact same thing, is that anytime you stand up for what's right, they will come after you. They will mess with you in your schedule. When you were working days, they'll put you on straight nights so you can't be with your family. They will follow, they will harass, they will threaten, they will call you rat and everything else. There was another cop, out of Baltimore named Joe Crystal was another one. He said, what the crooked cops was doing. And he was a white guy, and how they attacked him. I remember covering another police officer, I think out of Washington State or somewhere around there, how he took a stand against the police chief being racist and how they tried to run him off of the road. You understand this entity is very, very corrupt. Even cops that try to do the right thing, they are attacked. This should not be going on. And see, understand something. the majority of white society, we have to say what it is, they understand that they're the enforcement wing of white supremacy. And they feel that if we unravel that system with all this corruption, then who gonna control the Negroes? That's the thought process. That's completely the thought process. Even when Tanya had made the video and she came over here and stated many times that, and she's a white person, she said that the majority of them believe that the police are there to keep black people in line.
The mentality here in this state from a lot of white people is that the police are there to still keep the black people in line, and they support police brutality. They don't care if unarmed black man gets shot. They don't care. They think that that's what the police are there for. They don't feel like black people are citizens. They don't feel like they have their day. They should have their day in court. And so, you know, even though Jim Crow is over with here, you still have that mentality. These people reproduce. They have children, you know, and that mentality is still alive and well.
All this corruption, taking money from people, beating people up, shooting people, lying on police reports, which these guys are doing. All this I'm describing, that's what these guys are doing. And yet this entity still keep going on, and there's no fundamental change because the system was built that way. Even the police unions, you think the police unions would say, I don't want them kind of cops in our unions? Like, hell no, because they're going to hurt the integrity of the police department and the people we represent. No, they still go to bat for them, even when they know they're doing things they had no business. And that's why people say that they shouldn't have no unions. For what? You shouldn't be having this many cops being caught up in 790 convictions. These are innocent people, and majority probably black men that have convictions on their records, probably felonies on their records, have a hard time getting a job or getting a place to stay. I mean, it makes life hard. They can't own a firearm legally. You know, a lot of states, they can't vote because they just want to put another black man in jail, because they get their rocks off of that. You have a lot of white supremacists that infiltrated into these police departments. You have these sellout black folks that's going along with it. I mean, it's a sick situation. So, you know, I have to say shout out to Marilyn Mosby for trying to get rid of that and fighting for that law to be put where you can get rid of convictions. Because some of them judges that I saw in that case that she had and the way someone was acting with her, with Freddie Gray, I said, oh, man. But, you know, they on the judge's seat, too, now. They're on the judge's seat. They're just not in the police departments. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this particular story with Marilyn Mosby attempting to vacate all these old convictions laid on people by dirty cops. I mean, this is just completely wrong. But every day, truth is coming out, and we live in a day and time of exposure, and these people are being exposed before the world. And that is a beautiful thing.